Whether astrology is science or magic, we're open to most things, if they may be of benefit. Ed. Throughout history, the naming of moons has been an honored tradition, often signifying the connection of the moon to the seasons. As we know, April showers bring May flowers, so it is no wonder that the May moon is aptly called a full flower moon. The full flower moon was seen as a symbol of increased fertility, signifying to the ancient tribes that now was a safe time to bear children and plant crops as the weather was warming. On May 18, 2019, we not only get to enjoy the beauty of the full flower moon, but we also get to witness a blue moon. A blue moon is a rare event that only happens every 2 to 3 years, where 4 moons fall into one season. The third is always referred to as the blue moon, and with it comes a beautiful time of transformation and the opportunity to connect with her divine energy. I've always been drawn to the moon. My earliest childhood memory is of laying on a weaved blanket in the center of my back garden and gazing up into the night sky, entirely captivated by the moon in all her glory. I recall feeling the urge to talk to the moon and knowing it was safe to share my innermost joys, fears, and sorrows with her. I felt supported and loved, as if she filled my cup every evening before I went to bed. We became good friends, and I valued and cherished the time we shared, but as I grew older and teenage angst began to take over, talking to the moon started to feel silly. I guess you could say I was suddenly too cool to talk to the moon, and I wanted to hide the fact that I had for years as a child from my friends for fear of what they'd think. So gradually, the moon and I drifted apart. I became busy with my life and all but forgot the bond we once shared. Years flew by and I changed and evolved over the decades. I became a mother to 6 gorgeous children, I had a lovely man in my life, the dream home, a nice car, and a bunch of stuff I thought would make me happy. Yet, I found myself entirely disconnected, unhappy, and feeling incredibly lost. It was like I'd completely lost sight of the woman I dreamed I'd become when I was that little girl who was so of wonder and incredibly in tune with the world around her. I imagine many of you know this story, the one where we chase the America dream only to find ourselves confused and unhappy when the dream doesn't deliver the happiness it promised. I felt desperate to make changes in my life, to connect with someone, something, really anything in a meaningful way. I wanted to breathe life back into my soul and feel my feminine energy become excited and alive again like it was when I was small. I read book after book on self-improvement, happiness, and quick fixes, but nothing helped. I spent money on courses and counselors looking for a solution, and still nothing. I felt defeated. I recall collapsing into bed one night and closing my eyes wishing the universe would send me an answer. Then something subtle but amazing happened. I was in the middle of my busy day picking the kids up from school when my sweet little girl, Sophia, came bouncing out of class and declared, "Mommy, there's a real moon tonight. Can I stay up and see it?" Of course she could stay up, I thought, and so we decided to make an evening of it. As night fell, my children and I pulled out a large blanket, snuggled in under the inky black sky, and looked up at the beautiful moon that to me, looked pregnant with possibilities. I felt a rush of emotions hit me as memories started to flood back of my childhood friendship with the moon and the hours of conversation we shared. I remembered her. I remembered feeling the security and warmth in my heart from confiding in her and knowing that she was always looking out for me, and suddenly realized that I was telling my children about the bond we shared and suggested they too should make friends with the moon. I went to bed that night feeling happy, giddy almost, and I lay there for a long time smiling and remembering. The house was quiet, and I could see the glow of moonlight peeking through my curtains. I quietly slipped out of bed, snuggled into my housecoat and slippers, and headed back to the garden. "Good evening," I said as I smiled up at her, and I could feel her return the greeting. I sat on the grass and began to tell the moon about my life and how it had changed since we last spoke. I told her about my children, my hope and dreams, and how disconnected I'd been feeling. I asked her what I needed to do to be happy, and she simply showered me with her beautiful, loving energy and held space for me while I spoke. When I could speak no more, I sat for a long time with my eyes closed, just allowing my body to absorb the energy of the night. The next morning I woke feeling refreshed, like I had found my happiness again. The feeling was almost addictive and compelled me to make time to visit the moon each evening before bed. The more time we shared, the more I could feel her fill me with her love, wisdom, and power. I'd gift her with songs and stories, and she would fill me with creativity and inspiration. I began to feel the shifts in her energy as she went through her phases. And as she allowed me to get to know her, I allowed her to get to know me, and we formed what can only be described as a type of cosmic mother-daughter relationship. I grew to understand more about myself in the quiet moments we shared, and I found that I really liked who I was. I'd never been one to meditate in the past. I've always had ants in my pants and couldn't sit still, but somehow under the night sky, I felt calm and could allow myself to let go into my breath and just be under the moon's watchful eye. I think back now at all of the money I had spent trying to find happiness, all of the quick fix schemes I'd tried, and I feel a little silly. One thing I have learned is that life doesn't have to be quite that complicated. All we need for true happiness can be found in the environment around us, and we have divine friends waiting for us to say hello, if we'd only take the time to connect. The moon is constant, we can always count on her to be there. She is the light in the darkness that will guide us through the night. So why not take the time to honor her and acknowledge her, even if it's only on the night of the moon? Though I'm sure she would love to have you visit her regularly, to sit quietly, to share, to sing, to just be with her, allowing her to shine her loving energy upon you. A more profound connection with the moon is there, if we want it. She's changed my life in ways I couldn't begin to explain. And we can all use more friends, so why not take this moon as the opportunity to begin a great friendship? I know that this weekend, I plan to gather my children and set out a blanket on the grass with a plate of fresh-baked moon cookies to celebrate life and friendship by the light of the full flower moon. Let's block ads. Why?